Oh.
Hey everybody, it's Fight Club Hub, something intro. Okay, hey Emily, how you doing?
Hey! All right. Let's try this again. So anyway, my life is consumed by work. That's pretty much essentially what I was talking about before when no one could hear me. And yeah. So I'm juggling like 4 events right now, one of which is a monthly, the three other ones are majors. So it's been fun. Yeah. One of them is this weekend, Summer Jam 11. It is going to be a fantastic time. I hope everybody can tune in if you aren't able to make it. Watch the streams. Lord knows I'll be posting online so much you will probably be interested in watching the streams. Who knows? Um, but last weekend we also had Broad Street Battle, which we are in the fall season, our second season for. It is a part of the Red Bull Proving Grounds. So it's a similar thing, um, point system wise, as it was for the first season. The only difference is you're still competing for points. It's still going to be, the top three from each region that goes out and compete. It's still going to be the whole East Coast, West Coast thing. But the region that wins this time will be sent to the Red Bull Battlegrounds to compete. So the top eight will be sent there. So
Okay, that's good.
same concept, just a different big major tournament
I'm
that you're
sad
being
about the
sent
date
to.
of the next Broad Street battle.
I will get to that.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, last weekend was that. It also, the other stuff we're doing is sponsored by Biggie Gaming. All for Tekken 7, players can compete, and the player that has the most points after the 3 qualifying events will get an all-exclusive paid trip to Final Round 21 next year. So that includes hotel, venue, and game entry fee, and
Nice.
flight. On top of that, we're doing another point based system for Street Fighter V, separate from what Red Bull is doing for the Broad Street battles. And that is sponsored by Biggie Gaming and Canada Cup Gaming. And the player that gets the most points will also get an all exclusive paid trip to Canada Cup.
I was about to say Canada, eh?
Eh?
So our next Broad Street Battles event is going to be September 9th. Originally it was September 2nd, but we moved it due to ECT and some other major stuff that was going on. Apparently September 9th upsets Hubs, but we had no choice. I do realize that that's during a convention in New Jersey.
Oh, that's not why I'm upset, but
You're not that. Well, why are you upset then?
because I'm going to my brother-in-law's wedding.
Oh.
And it's also 2 days after my 10-year anniversary.
Oh, and we added Dead or Alive 5.
And I'm
I
going
can-
to
I can-
AVGC.
Boo.
I will be at, well, I was going to go on the Saturday of AVGC, but the nice thing about AVGC is it's 2 days, so I can still go. I'm just gonna have to go on Sunday instead. But I mean, unfortunately, this is what happens, and this is what I predicted was going to happen about a year and a half ago or so, that you were going to see more and more an influx of events, and they were going to start overlapping each other, and that's kind of just what you're seeing right now. Lots and lots and lots of more fighting game events and stuff popping up. But I'm also been working on Summer Jam. So Summer Jam, I work for Biggie Gaming, and they are running Summer Jam. Summer Jam's this weekend in New Jersey, and then after that, I am also working TFC, which TFC is in North Carolina. That is at the end of September. And then the first day of October, and then NEC is in December, so we're also working on that. So it has been exciting times, but outside of my workaholic lifestyle, because I also have a 40-hour week job, and I'm looking for another part-time job, because, I'm crazy, or I just need money. I've also been playing video games because somehow I managed to find time to do that. So I've been playing a lot of Tekken 7. Tekken 7 has become like my absolute favorite fighting game. I finally settled on a main. Brian Fury is my main. He is a sexy beast. All hail Brian Fury.
Mhm.
And
Gabe Newell.
Brian Fury. And
All honor Gabe.
and I've also had this weird obsession lately still with phone games and mobile game apps.
Are you playing
So
Pokemon Go again?
I might still be playing Pokemon Go, guys.
God.
That
I'm
hasn't
gonna
happened.
start throwing the table here like Mark on the chat.
Now that I've also been playing like cooking apps. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm like obsessed with these cooking apps. Right? Gordon Ramsay's cooking game. I've been playing that lately.
Is the Hell Kitchen one still available or no?
No. I mean, it's kind of like kitchen based, but it's not. It's not Hell's Kitchen, but it is like TV episode. Like,
So does he just curse at? Do you just push a button and he curses at you a lot?
no. I mean, really, as long as you don't like fuck up, he doesn't like yell at you. But there is like cursing in it.
Crikey, Emily, you suck at this. You know, I don't know. I can't do any impressions.
I mean, it's his voice. I mean, he does curse, but like, they also write out what he's saying, and they won't actually spell out the curse
they
words.
censor it like they do on Fox.
They sort of censor the verbal speaking,
Abuse?
but not really. It's more the words that they'll censor, just because in case any. Well, I mean, I would say in case any little kids are like reading it, but I mean, listening to it.
Well, here's my thing with that one is that if a little kid is actually playing it, then their parent clearly knows that they've been watching Kitchen Nightmares and/or any of these, so you know he curses.
Right, exactly. I've also just got Animal King. Yeah. No,
What?
that's not right. Oh my god.
I have to
Why
scratch
am
my
I
head
getting?
on that now.
Yeah, I know. I just got this game, and I'm like, I've been playing it every single day, and I'm getting its name wrong. I seriously just had a brain fart because I'm not playing Animal Kingdom.
Okay then.
Emily's having a brain fart.
No,
Okay,
come on,
I
you
think
guys,
we should
help
move
me
on.
out. You know which game I'm talking about.
I don't know what
Animal
game you're
Crossing?
talking about.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Animal Crossing. Thank you. I've been playing it every day, but for some reason I forgot the second word to it because I'm all over the place from work. I've been playing Animal Crossing, which is an unlikely game I wasn't expecting to buy or like, but I like it. So I've been playing that recently, and I'm patiently waiting for Pokemon DX. And there you go. That's been my life since our last show.
Okay. Well, thank you, Emily.
I tried to give the short version of that.
Tried. You
I
tried. That's the key word there. You tried.
I did try.
All right, moving on. Mark, what's happening? What you been doing?
Not a whole lot. I went to the Grounds for Sculpture in central New Jersey over the weekend because I have a friend in town with me, and we wanted to go see that for, just artistic appreciation. And also, there's like 50 fucking Pokestops inside of it.
Gee, I wonder what was the real motivation to go. And
No, she's actually a very big fan of the arts, and she wanted to see it because it's a lot of both classical and modern art sculpture, statues, and things of that nature. The Pokestops are just a bonus, honestly. But she's also a big fan of Pokemon Go, so it was kind of a 2-for-1 type deal as far as that goes. Beyond that, I mean, I haven't really been doing a whole lot. I put up a video on the channel, not last week, but the week before, I want to say, detailing my thoughts on individual morality issues within the confines of Persona 5, which did reasonably well in terms of overall viewership and general response. Podcast has been updating fairly regularly this past Friday-ish. I just put up an episode featuring a conversation I had with Hamish Black about the current state of video game criticism as an existent thing, which is doing phenomenally well.
Excellent.
That's great.
I mean, it's all pretty cut and dry as far as I can tell here.
okay.
I'm going to try and see a Broadway show this week, also, apropos of nothing.
How is that?
I haven't
Oh wait,
gone yet,
you're
so I don't-
seeing it this weekend. Sorry.
Well, just sometime this week. I don't know exactly when, but sometime this week we want to do that.
Nice.
Awesome.
Trying to get tickets to Hamilton, but
I was gonna say the Book of Mormon.
Oh,
Book
I
of
saw
Mormon
the.
is
I saw
not
the
a
Book of
bad
Mormon.
option. Like the Book of Mormon is not a bad option. I'm trying to see if I can get into the ticket lottery for Hamilton, just because, like, that's the hot show right now. But we've got a couple of options. Book of Mormon is an option. Wicked is an option, obviously. Phantom of the Opera, because of course at this point, and they're doing a Cats revival, so
Really?
like that's
Again,
on the
I
table.
thought they already started the Cats revival like some time ago.
Like a year or so ago, I think, but it's
Yeah.
still ongoing. So
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's the New
Yeah.
Jersey side of me, but every time I think of cats, I automatically think of Jersey Girl. They're with George Carlin, like, take the kid to see the cats, and everybody ends up doing memories at the end of the show.
Oh dear. All right. So what about on the gaming front, Mark? I guess you took a break.
I just don't have anything particularly going on as far as games are at the moment. We did a small board game night on Saturday, just like a couple of immediately local friends, just to have my friend in town play games with everybody. I might try to organize another group one in the next couple of weeks, but as far as like video games, it's occasionally been Final Fantasy 14, and that's pretty much about it right now.
Okay. All right, and moving on to you, Keith. What have you been up to, my friend?
Actually, been doing a good amount of stuff. I actually dusted off the cobwebs a little bit, and I streamed the first episode of Game of Thrones for the Xbox One just because the new season came out, and I've been like balls deep in Game of Thrones stuff. So I was all like, "Yeah, screw it, why not? I love Game of Thrones. I like video games. They have this decently made game from Telltale. I mean, it's not horrible so far, but not bad, or it's not great either." So I've been doing lots with video games, and I actually picked up Splatoon 2, and I finally bit the bullet, and I picked up Final Fantasy 15, and I watched Kingsglaive. But I've been playing a lot of Splatoon 2, which I really, really like. It's not the best game ever, but again, very, very good. I like it. Just the little aspects that they had from the Wii version, or the Wii U version, I'm sorry. And again, overall, fun game.
Okay. And you did start streaming Game of Thrones some time ago, so you practically have started streaming again. You going to be doing any more of that?
Hopefully. I mean, this is kind of like the step in the right direction. It's just something that I like Game of Thrones right now, and if anything, I will never spoil anything for anybody. I already did that once. I messed it up, and I messed it up on a podcast nonetheless, so I was like, I'll never do that again. But the season's really, really awesome so far, or I'm enjoying it a lot. So that's why it's kind of like going hand in hand. These are my happy things right now, so to say.
Okay. On my end, I've been bouncing around a little all over the place. What did I recently play? Actually, was it on Steam? I actually can't remember right now. Yeah, I've been playing a little bit of Fire Pro Wrestling World. I've been playing a little bit of Street Fighter V. I've been playing Tekken, a little bit of Tekken 7. Not that good at it. Just still can't stand the 3D movement of that game, to be truthfully honest, even after all these, after playing Tekken 3, Tekken 5 and 6. 7 just still feels stiff to me after all these years. Fire Pro Wrestling, I really like the game a lot. There's only one minor complaint, and that's just how inconsistent the game is when it comes to loading. Like, you got a very simplistic looking 2D game going on here, and it takes a while to just scroll through names of wrestlers, like created wrestlers, wrestlers that's built into the game, and like let's say you're starting a match, the loading times are inconsistent. The minute you say start match, it immediately loads into the match, or you're waiting at least a good minute for the match to actually load up, just to show the intro. So it's kind of buggy. But then again, what is this? Is it open alpha or open beta, Mark?
Neither.
It's a live release now.
No, it's what they're doing is early access, which is different from open alpha, open beta type stuff, because they're not charging you money at that point. It's open alpha is you're basically getting development code. You're expecting it to blow up and crash and die and whatever for free.
Yeah.
Open beta is, again, you're getting free access to this thing. Early access is you are paying the full price for the product and you're getting it in whatever state they're releasing it in, but you get to play it along the way.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it's whole different own fucking animal at this point. I don't hate early access, and like it definitely gives the ability for a project like this to get funding while they work out the kinks.
Okay.
So
I
Didn't
would like
Ark
to
do early access, if I'm not mistaken?
did what do early access?
Ark, if I'm not mistaken, that
Yeah.
frickin' god awful piece of shit.
What game?
Ark
Ark.
Survival.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I just like to point out that I really loved some of these created wrestlers. Right now, I'm looking at one of Krang from the original Ninja Turtles cartoon series, and it's pretty accurately done. It's really nice. So, hey, thumbs up to the people who make this stuff. And so, moving on, today's main topic at hand is, well, all about Atari themselves. As of about a couple months ago, Atari teased the return of, I guess, them in some capacity whatsoever besides publishing games. They dropped the name Atari Box, and then maybe showed like some kind of like image of like the top of a mysterious-looking device, and speculation ran wild. And then about a month ago, they revealed what the entire device looked like, the Atari Box, and still didn't give out any information about it whatsoever. And then, what was it, about 3 weeks ago, somewhere in the middle of July, they finally said, oh, hey, this is the Atari Box. It's going to be a small little device. You can get it in 2 colors. You can get it the old wooden paint job or the black model color. They don't have specs or anything for it, but apparently, according to them, it goes and can play anything digitally as far back as their early 2600-day games to literally, they say it can play modern-day games. So we're looking at possibly kind of a Steam machine type of device, not necessarily something that's trying to compete with what Nintendo's doing with, you know, the SNES Classic and the NES Classic. Specs aren't revealed, no price points are revealed, no release date, just speculation. There is talk of it possibly going to Kickstarter, but so many other consoles have gone to Kickstarter, and Ouya is the only one to have really actually any success, but still ended up failing major. So my first question to everybody here is it really a smart idea for Atari to go back into the console market in this way? And I will start with you, Mark.
Of course not.
Simple and sweet. Can you elaborate, sir?
If I must. The last time Atari actually had anything to... Well, okay, let's start from the obvious point. Atari isn't Atari anymore and hasn't been for a while.
Nope.
Right? Infogrames bought the brand name of Atari a while ago and has been kind of, you know, running around wearing their skin suit, publishing Infogrames stuff under the Atari. Look, I'm just going to call it how I see it. All right, they are
Buffalo Bill style.
They are
right
Buffalo
now.
Billing. They are Buffalo Billing Atari, pretty much. And you know they've been doing that for a while, which is, you know, it is what it is. That's just kind of how the industry works. But like they latched onto a brand name that a lot of people, you know, have fond memories of from their childhood, and that's it. Coming back around to attempt to release some type of a device that capitalizes on people's nostalgia, a la an NES box or, you know, like the SNES Classic, the NES Classic, etc., is fine. I have no core objections to that basic idea one way or the other. But the idea of we're going to make it so that this device can play any Atari games that have ever been, you know, that have ever been created, have ever been made in general. I have a lot of questions about how that sort of a thing would operate and function and things of that nature. But probably the most significant question I have at this point are two. How much is that going to cost? And how many people do you think you're actually going to sell on something that can play PlayStation 4 quality games? Because Atari has been releasing stuff for years that is going to sell like PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4 quality games as like, you know, an NES Classic or an Ouya type machine. Because I guarantee you, whatever amount you think you're going to sell, it's going to be dramatically less than that.
Now,
That's the truth.
looking, we'll go around the room now. I mean, obviously, Mark has hit almost every major point right there on the head. So, how about you, Emily?
I kind of agree with Mark in the regard that, like, first things first, I find it concerning that they're really not giving us like a lot of information. I get the fact that they want to announce it and get everybody excited. Like, look, it's Atari. We're coming back. We're making another console, but they're giving us nothing. Like, not even anything remotely to even get us to consider, you know, being hyper wanting to get their console in the first place. And I feel like when they first announced it, they had a little bit more than just Atari box. Here's a box. New console coming soon. Okay. Well, what are you going to bring to the table at this current time in the 21st century that Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox and PC have not already brought to gamers? Those are the four main gaming platforms that we have right now, and all of them bring some type of, I'm sorry, I had Facebook open here because of work-related
How
things.
dare you read Facebook in the middle of a podcast?
It was work-related things. Summer Jam is this weekend, but it kept beeping in my ear. It was really distracting. I think that is something that would have been great for people to know in advance. And that was, what are you bringing that PlayStation, Xbox, PC, and Nintendo have not already brought to us right now? Because Atari, I don't want to say it's like a joke right now because it's not. But when my mom says to me, I used to game, Emily. I had an Atari. Like, people, yeah, exactly. People laugh because that game system was so long ago, and gaming has drastically changed since the Atari came out. So I think I'm curious to see what they have planned. And I'm curious to see what they come up with, but I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced at this time until I'm able to see more, until they release more information. I'm not convinced they're going to be successful with launching it, considering how big and popular, these other four gaming console platform franchises are. And considering how long, Atari has appeared. I say appeared to be out of the loop because who knows? I mean, they could have some crazy tricks up their sleeve and surprise everybody, for all I know. But
well, I mean, I don't think they're necessarily attempting to even compete in that particular wheelhouse as such. I think they're trying to just cash in more on the idea of, hey, remember when we used to make good games? Well, now you can play all of those good games on like one machine. Like, I don't think they're going to develop, at least I hope to God they're not going to develop new content for that platform.
But that goes along with my whole entire point of
they're making America great again.
They've given us no information. That goes along my point. They've given us no information at all. And I don't know if
they did say that they would be able to the system would be able to play modern games, which would be, i.e., PS4 quality games. So, I mean,
but see, if you're telling me it'll be able to play modern games, that leads me to believe you're trying to create a new modern gaming console to pretty much, well, Mark said, try to cash in. I mean, look at how popular gaming has become. Look at all the money that's involved in it. I mean, it doesn't surprise me
Well, I think
that
that more so the wording, like Hub says, is that it will be able to play. So if they re-release something, and or remember, like Mark said, is that Infogrames is pretty much running around with an Atari suit on. Is they're still developing games for the PlayStation 4, for the Xbox, so to say, but they're not actually making. The only game that Atari has their grubby hands on is Roller Coaster Tycoon. So
Yeah, it's
maybe
just
that's
like-
where they're going for.
Yeah, they're probably going to pull off a thing like, when Neo Geo decided to make their own console, but they were still releasing ports of their games on the Super Nintendo, the Genesis, the Saturn, the PS1, or even Atari back in the late 80s, early 90s. They were using the Tengen name to release some of their games onto other platforms like the NES. So, I mean, they were probably just doing this as a way of, hey, maybe we're still making money off of our games. Let's find another way to make money and maybe do it this way. We can still, release stuff here and there, but we're still gonna pull profit somehow out of our asses,
That's what I think on that.
I mean, I really. What I was saying before was it doesn't surprise me that they're getting involved, like I said, because of how popular gaming has become and all the money that's involved. I mean, honestly, I'm surprised that Sega hasn't tried to, do something with the Saturn. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't, like, I know you're laughing, but I'm being dead serious. I mean, think about it. You were the companies that came out with the original consoles. You were the ones that, these were the companies. They were the ones that had the original gaming consoles. Now, granted, these other companies pretty much came in and pushed that aside and pretty much revolutionized and changed gaming, and then no one really cared that much about the Atari or anything anymore. But at the time the Atari came out, it was popular. So it doesn't surprise me that these companies are trying to make their way back in. Now, Atari did file for bankruptcy, in 2013, right?
No, I don't believe I heard that. They might have filed for bankruptcy in the 90s. After I think Playmates sold them. I don't remember if
I'm pretty sure they did. Hold on, Atari.
Back in 2013, they filed for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Okay,
So they did. Yeah, in 2013. Yeah, that's what I thought. So, and the last I heard, I believe they've been making mobile games recently, haven't they? Isn't that the way they've been kind of trying to build back up and come back? It's through mobile
Roller
games.
Coaster Tycoon.
They're also re-releasing a bunch of stuff on PC. The
Okay.
last game I think they had anything directly associated with as far as developing new property outside of Roller Coaster Tycoon World, I want to say. I think that was a new game, which, let it be clear, everybody hates the absolute fucking shit out of this thing.
Roller Coaster
it's
Tycoon?
the newest one that came out in November.
The newest one.
Yeah, 2,137 reviews, mostly negative.
By the way, I would like to point out real quick that it was the U.S. branch of Atari that filed for bankruptcy. Their actual headquarters is located in France. So.
Right. And then there was also, they did the Alone in the Dark third-person shooter deal that came out on PC that was just like a group, a team shooter, Illumination, which mostly negative. They have been re-releasing a bunch of stuff, including all of the old Alone in the Darks. Like, the only things that have been making the money and, like, well-received is stuff like the Atari Vault, which was just a release of a bunch of their games from the 70s and the 80s.
Now, I wouldn't mind actually seeing some of their games be re-released. Maybe, like
You said Yar's Revenge.
remastered. What?
I said, if you say Yar's Revenge, so help me.
I wasn't going to. I was just going to say I wouldn't mind.
Also,
seeing-
it's worth noting the French company is the one that's been fucked up. The U.S. company is the one that's been doing okay.
Well, I'm not going to call out any countries. The company in itself is still the company. It just has different locations.
Well, it's what they're basically saying is that Atari Incorporated wanted to separate the U.S. part of the group from the financial encumbrances of its French parent corporation, Infogrames. Infogrames itself hadn't made a profit since, according to the information associated, 1999, whereas
Damn.
Atari's U.S. side apparently had been some degree of financially viable in some capacity or another. I'm guessing because of relying on the old content that they've been re-releasing and re-releasing and re-releasing.
That's pretty
Okay.
much all they have left in them, apparently.
Well, again, also Atari had their hands in a bunch of other little pies here and there. I mean, like I remember going to the actual Atari booth at E3 and seeing like again Budokai. I know was one of the games that they were doing, or they had some sort of hand in. They had their hands in that stupid the Matrix game. Don't even get me started on that piece of crap. But so I know that they were doing a lot of different other things here and there, from what I can remember. But I think that was more Infogrames versus anything.
Okay, so second
I would-
question. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I believe that they were not super active in like the 90s, especially like the late 90s and early 2000s, but I would argue that they've been trying in the last like good like 7 to 10 years to make a comeback.
I would say they were heavily active in the 90s, especially since they were
The
forced-
Jaguar.
Yeah, they had the Jaguar, and when that thing flopped, they literally were scrambling to survive, so they had to start making games for other platforms.
I'm talking more like late 90s, early 2000s, when like the PlayStation and the Xbox and things like that were coming
Yeah.
to fruition, and we're kind of pushing them aside because
Atari was hardcore working their asses off to survive. Remember, they did stuff like they had the movie licenses that they were working on, like The Matrix, back in the day.
I'm talking video game wise though, console wise.
That's, well, not making console-wise, but that's because they had to be forced into a third-party role.
Well, then you start seeing games like, you know, Star Wars and Roller Coaster Tycoon, because those are the games that started popping up around the time that. Honestly, I didn't even realize that Atari made Roller Coaster Tycoon. Now that I'm thinking about it, I played that game.
I want to say they bought the license. Like,
Is that
I don't
it?
Think, I
Okay.
don't think that they were
Yeah, because I
originally responsible for it
was
way
say,
back
I
when it
don't
first
think-
came out. Or maybe it was part of Infogrames originally and then was brought under. No, it was originally developed by Crisp Sawyer Productions when it first came out, then was eventually purchased by Nspace. So I'm assuming that like the different developers are probably picked up, like it was originally picked up by Infogrames and then transferred over to Atari when Infogrames put Atari on.
I was about to say that's the way that I see it for that.
Yeah, so it's more or less originally developed by Chris Sawyer Productions. Infogrames probably had ownership of it around the time of its first release, and it's just hung on to it ever since.
All right, so now my next question is, okay, so assuming they go through and have a successful Kickstarter, what are the
Well,
chances?
shame on them.
Yeah, I
Like,
know. Shame on
honestly.
the people that support that idea. What are the chances, let's say, of Sega considering a Kickstarter to re-enter the console market? Does
None.
that sound
They're not
like
fucking broke.
Huh?
None, because they're not fucking broke.
I don't necessarily think
But at the
they
same
would start a
time, they don't have
Kickstarter.
their factories anymore or their warehouses in order to develop consoles.
Sega as a corporation is absolutely not going to re-enter the console marketplace. There
Because
is
they're smart enough to do
there
it.
is no incentive to do that, and there are many, 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 many negatives.
No,
Atari
their
as a
focus
corporation-
is. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. It's Atari as a corporation at this point has nothing.
Okay.
And
Now,
that's the politest way that one can say it at this point. They have nothing but their back catalog.
now, what about other former console makers like NEC and Neo Geo? Would they consider doing something like that?
Fuck no.
Because Neo Geo's too freaking smart to do that.
Like no, it's not even a question
SNK,
of that.
but-
It's
SNK, sorry.
every other company. Like there have been in sum total 6 companies who have been something approaching successful in the console market: Atari, Coleco, Nintendo, Sony, Sega, and Microsoft. Like that's basically it. Because you had
Well-
way back in the first or second console generations, you had Atari and Coleco. Like those were your two for like they released multiple iterations. Anybody else that existed in that period released one and got the fuck out. But it was Atari and Coleco released multiple different versions of stuff. Actually, who was the Odyssey?
That was the Magnavox.
Magnavox. That was the first.
Okay, so we can add Magnavox in there too, because they released multiple iterations of the Odyssey. So that's 3 that were successful at that point.
The Odyssey came out like a good 10 years before the Atari did.
That's not even remotely historically possible, Robert.
Well, the brown box made by
they
Ralph
did
Baer
not
came out in
invent.
the 60s.
They did not invent the Odyssey in the '60s, Robert.
I'm just going to sit here and eat my burrito.
I'm going to the Google right now for this. 1972.
Okay, so I was off by a few years, but the brown box did come before that.
Atari. And an Atari 2600 came out in 1977. So 5 years.
Okay.
Look, in all seriousness, I would actually love if the Atari came out with some new surprising console that was different than what we've seen so far.
Yeah, but what could they honestly bring to the table is the whole thing.
That is actually... That was what I was questioning. What are they going to do? You have... And then leaving PC out of it, you have literally 3 of the largest, most dominating video game console companies out there right now that are also creating games in the process and revolutionizing gaming, as we speak. Example, PlayStation VR. And you know that there have been very poor attempts in the past on trying to make gaming virtual reality, and it really seems like PlayStation has hit, the nail on the head with their VR system. So I'm curious to see what Atari... I actually want to see... I want to know. I'm very curious. I just, I'm hoping that it's something successful. I wouldn't mind if it's a little bit of mixture of both. One thing I really like about the Switch is all the classic Neo Geo games they've been putting on there recently. Fighting games, mostly, but, a couple other ones as well. They just put a new, 10 different classic games. It was like $30. I just bought it on my Switch recently, and I think it's awesome that I can play those games. So I would love to see Atari do something like that, but also remaster some of their games similar to how we've seen with Ratchet and Clank and Crash Bandicoot recently. That's me personally. Keith has this smile on his face, I'm not sure.
Because if anything, I'm going to quote Dr. Malcolm when I say this, but they're not taking the time to necessarily think about can they do it and whether or not they should do it.
The question is, are they? So have they actually given a release date for anything yet?
No, they haven't listed anything other than giving out a name.
All we know is a small video and giving us the name, the Atari box, and knowing that there's a console coming. So,
like winter.
Did they say winter?
No, I'm just... never mind. It
just went right over my head, I guess. So what if they do? What if we don't hear anything again until... I doubt this will happen, but... what if it's not coming out till 2019 or something? Or the very end of 2018? And what if they've been working on this for the last 2 years and we don't know it and they're just finally saying something and it is this big grand thing? I could be wrong, but what if it is? And in that case, do you think that they have the potential to be successful if they have a new team put together that's been working on something?
Yeah, but here's the thing: is look at the history of games, and I'm talking about currently versus what they had in the past. That they really aren't bringing. Don't get me wrong. I love Nolan Bushnell. Nolan Bushnell is goddamn genius on it.
Nolan Bushnell absolutely has nothing to do with this project. He has been long gone from Atari.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Maybe
what was he doing? He is working for another company as some kind of outside contractor for brainstorming.
Okay, well, point being is that you never know who is able to pick up his mantle, so to say, is what I was more getting at, not necessarily saying that Nolan Bushnell was directly involved into it. But more so is that I don't think that they're going to really be bringing anything else. They're more trying to cash in on that nostalgia factor more so than anything. And then they're just kind of like hinting like, oh, maybe we can go on this route. But even if they were to make games, it would be a gigantic flop. And also is that shame on anybody that would actually invest into this unless they have some sort of huge project that they actually have. Like, they'll be like, okay, give us like Scientology, give us $1,000 and we'll give you the idea of life, so to say.
Look, I'm just saying, if you don't think that Nolan Bushnell at all is not like that, they didn't even once like speak to him.
They probably didn't. He sold his Atari shares way back in the early '80s, and he deuces, and he was out. Like he has been doing millions of other projects at this point. That man is a savvy businessman.
Right now,
but
he's
like
probably...
I don't think he's had anything to do with even consulting for Atari in decades at this point. I don't even know if he's still a shareholder in the company. If he is, like, you know, if he has provided some degree of consultation, though, like even if they have contacted him and asked him for advice, it wouldn't necessarily change anything.
I'm not honestly sure. I'd have to look. I know that we're following each other on Twitter. I'm like on his Twitter right now.
Yeah, he followed me on Twitter too, and I hit him up saying, "Hey, can I interview you?" Nothing back. But
I doubt you had a response back.
I'm sure he's off in his office somewhere counting all the tokens he's made off of Chuck E. Cheese.
I mean, he's still talking about gamers and things like games and things like that. Like from what I could see on his Twitter. I mean, he doesn't.
He's absolutely still tuned into what gaming is, and he absolutely still, by all indications, actively loves gaming as a thing. Like, do I think that he would, in any way, shape, or form, want to have anything to do with a modern revival of Atari? Absolutely fucking not. There's literally no benefit except as possibly a figurehead / spokesperson. And like that, as much as we appreciate Nolan Bushnell, that would, you know, fucking be like bringing Richard Garriott out to announce your next thing. People like us are going to give a shit. The collective public's going to say, who the fuck's this old guy? Get him the fuck out of here. The only people in gaming that the mass public knows and gives a shit about at this point
PewDiePie.
Are, I mean, no, people who've actually created something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And no, yeah, whatever. Shots fired. Fuck Felix. He's still an asshole. Anyway, not sorry. The people who have actually made something in the industry at this point that are like notable public figures are like within like the collective consciousness at this point are Shigeru Miyamoto, Hideo Kojima.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I just found some information I was gonna say, but you can finish.
And I guess probably the Game Grumps guys.
I guess, even though I like Aaron Henson, but I don't know. Sometimes
they're kind of on the cusp of being like mainstream relevant, I think.
Okay.
I would say they are. So
I would say that argue that Nolan Bushnell is still somewhat involved, because in 2010 Atari had announced that Nolan Bushnell, along with Tim Burton, joined the company's board of directors, and then he's still on the advisory board of anti-aging games and all this other stuff. So I don't know if he's left those positions. Here in January 2016, joined the board of directors for something with robotics. In 2016, I just would argue that, you know, he's still active in it somehow. It doesn't say that he left the board of directors, so he might actually still be there. So
I mean, he might be. Like I said, it's. I'm sure he has a bunch of other projects. Even if he is involved in some capacity or another, I don't think that in any way ultimately helps a modern revival of Atari as an entity. Like, there's two possibilities for where this goes. The first possibility is Atari is simply attempting to make a revival box that plays just their content, because their content, like their older content specifically, has made money, or they're trying to get back into the console market. If it's trying to be just a revival box where it's something where you can just download and play their games, you know, that's not the worst idea ever. It's
no, it'd be similar to what Sega and Nintendo has done.
Right. I mean, they would probably set it up in a way such that you could actually download stuff and it would have internal storage. If they could do it properly, it could actually be an instructive method by which we could show companies like Sega and Nintendo how to properly do a device that plays nostalgia properties on a television instead of just releasing a $50 piece of equipment. I don't know if they're going to be capable of doing that because it sounds like they're trying to make a device that's going to be able to play modern games. And there's only so low of a price point you can go with that. So there's eventually going to be a corner cut either on performance or there's going to be a price bump to a level where not everybody's going to want to invest. But it isn't the worst idea. If Atari is attempting to actually get back into the console market, that would be the stupidest fucking thing I had heard all year so far in the world of gaming at this point. And this includes the unsung hero announcement where they're basically like, hey, 3 years after we got Kickstarter funded, the developer initially associated with it bounced out and handed literally nothing to the people that took it.
Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, let's think about this. It's Atari was relevant in the 80s. Like,
Yes.
and they basically saw over both the initial rise and initial death of console gaming as a whole.
Oh, absolutely.
Due to their own bad decisions. They attempted a revival in the handheld market with the Jaguar, which flopped and tanked. They attempted a revival into the console market again with the Jaguar, which was basically the
Jaguar
worst
twice.
thing. Yeah,
I think you meant the Lynx.
the Lynx. The Lynx
Yeah.
was the handheld one, yes. With the Jaguar, which was just a colossal piece of shit
Both
on every
cats.
fucking level imaginable. And then they ended up folding and going under Infogrames to become new Atari. Now, at this point, anything new that they've touched, including the newest Roller Coaster Tycoon and the newest Alone in the Dark, have been terrible. And they're re-releasing their old stuff to the market. What are they going to do? You know, like, they don't have any people lined up, and you might be able to convince venture capitalists that you're going to be able to make something and get money to fund the development of a console because you have a name brand associated. But venture capitalists will throw money at just about any goddamn thing. They made that juice machine that has barcodes on it so you can't use other people's juice in it, for fuck's sake. I'm pretty sure you can convince somebody to fund the new Atari console. But is anybody going to buy it? No, absolutely not. You would be better off just taking that money, putting it on the street, and pissing on it, because you would at least be able to pick the money up, wash it, and continue to use it afterward. Like there's nobody's going to pay money for an Atari console because you're the fourth person to attempt to release, and we can't even convince the majority of non-Nintendo developers to make stuff for the Switch yet. How are you going to convince somebody to make something for a new Atari platform? You're not. It's.
See, I would argue the Switch because they already had a huge list of different developers before they even launched.
Yeah, but Nintendo always says that. What they mean is
They
a bunch
actually
of
gave
people
the
who are
list.
saying.
I looked at it. I could send.
Yes,
it
they
to
did.
you.
They absolutely did. We all did see it. But what they're saying is these people have committed to supporting the Switch. Doesn't mean they all have active projects or even that they're doing anything at the moment. It's we'll release something so long as you can show us it's worthwhile. Like they haven't scrubbed
But
the
I
idea of
feel
doing
like Nintendo has more than proved it's worthwhile, considering it's still sold out at a lot of stores.
Sure. I'll go with that, absolutely. But the thing is that there are still a lot of companies who are going to sit on the fence until they hit that 10 million installed user base. And Atari has to enter into that marketplace where you now have to be the fourth company to convince somebody to pay money for your console when the last two consoles you made were jokes. And a company that's still been active this whole entire time hasn't even hit the 10 million installed user base mark and is still kind of like burned a few of its bridges, even with people who are saying they're supporting them now. Like they will have no support. They will have no exclusive content that people want. They will have no marketplace. It's going to be, a million people who are diehard Atari fans, and then a marketplace that's going to go, nah.
Okay. So looking back
Possibly.
at pretty much this whole thing in a nutshell, Atari's just pretty much just putting themselves in a corner. So let's play a little game here. Go around the room. How many months or years do you think that Atari still has left to live? We'll start with you, Keith. You think they'll go? When do you think they'll go belly up?
They're still relevant? I couldn't even give you an answer because, again, I'm still just in shock that they're still really open, so to say. But if there's a will, there's a way, I guess. I don't have an answer for you.
All right, Mark, how long do you think it'll take until they decide to go belly up?
I mean, assuming they can get some actual developers on hand who can make something worthwhile, I would say they
In
could
regards
survive
to what
indefinitely.
Crypto Trail says, when was the last
No,
time you
he-
heard the name Konami? Or not
Well,
Konami?
no, he does make a valid.
Acclaim.
He does make a valid point. So if
Yeah.
somebody buys the Atari name and decides they have value in it, it could very well be the next. They could just do another Infogrames. They could, Buffalo Bill that shit, and you could have a third company decide they also want to continue to be Atari.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening just because of the amount of damage that the Atari name has taken in the past few years, but it is possible that a company with no brand recognition may buy that Atari brand name and choose to rebrand themselves as Atari. That having been said, if the company can get a couple of decent developers on board, they could actually bounce back. Assuming that doesn't happen, I don't see them making it out of 2030. They'll probably make it out of 2020 alive because they still have, all of the old games that people remember fondly and will drop some cash on, the various arcade services and on Steam. I don't see them making it out of 2030 alive.
Okay. And how about you, Emily? When do you think they'll go belly up?
You know what? I don't know because
Finally, somebody has the
I-
same answer as me.
I might honestly be the same as Keith because here's the thing. And I'm going to use Atari and I'm going to use Sega as an example. Two companies, both made consoles. Both got out of making consoles for multiple obvious reasons. And you could argue that some of it were similar. Poor choices made making the consoles. PlayStation, Xbox came in, overpowered them. Yeah, they didn't really, they weren't really able to keep up for a multitude of reasons. But they found ways to keep their company afloat. The thing is, mobile games, with the shifts in technology and the shift in different ways you could game, you kind of just saw, like, Sega and Atari kind of head in that general direction. We're going to focus on mobile games, we're going to do this, and they have found success there. They're still making money. They might not be making money on the level they did, maybe not on the level of PlayStation and Nintendo and all that, but mobile games and app games continue to rise in popularity. And as long as they rise in popularity and as long as these companies are involved in that and then stay connected in some type of gaming, they're still making money and there's still some type of investors. So I can't come out and say that, let's say if this new console turns out to be a dud, I can't necessarily say that I think that's it for Atari, because look at how long they've, minus filing for bankruptcy, a couple years ago, they still have managed to find a way to stay afloat. So I can't sit here and even say that I think by 2030. I just don't know, because what if this console is a success too? What if it brings them out of that? What if suddenly we have PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox, and Atari? You just don't know. So I can't. I'm with Keith. I can't give an answer to that.
Oh, for me, my answer. Okay. Okay. I didn't know you. That was a long pause. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was just gonna say I personally hope whatever they're coming out with is successful. That's all.
Okay, so in my regards, to me, this whole thing about the Atari box is reeking of stench in regards to other attempted Kickstarter-funded consoles. Like, does anybody remember the Phantom? Although that was not a Kickstarter,
Oh, I hope they don't do a Kickstarter. I
Well,
wouldn't
that's what
be.
their intentions were doing, was to do a Kickstarter for the Atari box. Other systems that I've tried to do with the Kickstarter was the Oh Yeah, which was actually able to make it to shelves, and then I saw it within a couple months get discounted to like $50. There was the Coleco Chameleon, if anybody remembers that
I do
console.
not whatsoever.
Okay, a while ago, about a couple years ago, there was this company of guys who were trying to create a retro console that didn't exactly play retro games, but played indie games in a cartridge format. It would have no internet connectivity. You could use maybe a memory card to maybe update the system's firmware, stuff like that. They said something along the lines of they had had a couple of indie games that were pretty much lined up to play for it, and they showed it off as a demo. It later turned out that when they were trying to run the Kickstarter, it failed, but they kept trying at it, and then they took it to a trade show where a guy with really good eyes looking at the system recognized the motherboard to be a SNES Mini motherboard that they were using for their demo. And then all kinds of, hilarity and bullshit ensued, to which case the people in the company turned on themselves. Coleco dropped, because they were going to be one of the big people that was going to back this up, the Chameleon, and they backed out of it, and this thing fizzled into thin air. And to me, that's kind of what the Atari box is like. It's just something that just gets announced, has a big name attached to it. Nothing's being shown about it. They're just saying, hey, look, we got something coming. Check it out. You can play old games. You can play new games. And that's exactly what the people with the Chameleon did. And it was just a waste of time. I think it's going to be a waste of time. Atari is going to literally start digging their own grave right now. And I'm going to predict by about 2022 that they're going to be either bought by somebody else or they're going to be kicking the bucket. So, in regards to that, any other final thoughts about Atari as a whole? Anything you want to reminisce about? We'll start with you, Keith.
Star Wars. And then Pac-Man. I mean, if anything, I actually still have my Atari 2600 still hooked up, and I still have the nice wooden box and everything along those lines for it. So it was just a fun console. And let's see what other great games do they have for it. Even though I hate Yar's Revenge, and I go the really bad route and be like, E.T. was the best game ever. No, at least not for me, at least. But other than that, Atari, good job. Back in the day. Now you get kind of suck.
Okay, and
but
we'll go.
I wish you fortune.
Okay, we'll go on to Mark next.
I owned an Odyssey 2 when I was growing up, so I got nothing, man.
You didn't play any of the Atari games by proxy or anything like that?
California Games was okay.
Okay. Emily, any final words for the night?
I seriously, wholeheartedly wish Atari the best, and I hope they are successful with whatever future plans they have for the gaming community. I love Pac-Man, and I believe they also did Space Invasion, right? Space Invaders, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was Atari. So I played a lot of Space Invaders when I was younger too. So those two games are definitely ones I enjoyed. And I don't think I played Star Wars. At least not the Atari version. Sorry, Keith.
Even the lightsaber game.
I also played Roller Coaster Tycoon, but I don't know if it was one of the versions they were involved with or not, honestly. But like I said, Pac-Man, Space Invaders, they were some of my favorite games when I was a kid. I really am hoping that Atari produces something great. It's hard to believe in it when I just don't see anything yet.
In regards to my final words, I would have to say, for Atari, I think I enjoyed their games on other consoles more than on their consoles. So, parting words. Hey, thanks for all the fish, and take care. So anyway, that is the end of the show. Let's do some plugs real quick. Anybody got anything coming up? We'll go around the room. Oh, Emily, go ahead.
Don't start with me. I took a bite of my food.
Then why'd you put your arms up?
Because she was swallowing.
I was just saying I do, but
What?
Okay.
I mean, I know you got some stuff going on in your life, like, with like, medical type stuff, and that's fine. I would think that if you have a problem where you have to put your arms up to swallow, your doctor would have homed in on that first.
I wasn't saying that. I was trying to say me. Like, where did I say anything about swallow? Oh my god. Okay. You know what? Before I walk deeper into a hole and a route I don't want to go down with the word swallowing, I am going to.
Ding.
Somebody,
Fries are done.
somebody got a text message.
Not me.
This
I'm
guy.
pretty sure it was Keith.
See, he's reading it right now in the middle of a live show. You asshole.
Hey. Calm your titties.
Stuff I have going on is events. Summer Jam again this weekend. Yay! It's gonna be lots of fun, and I hope everybody tunes in. I am revamping and bringing back some of my old projects and streams that I had before. So I am streaming more. So mostly Tekken 7 right now. Follow me at twitch.tv/Jermelion. JEMMILLION. I'll put it in the chat. Okay.
Or they can just
That's
look
it.
at the screen.
That too.
I lose.
Marky Mark, aside from your most recent episode of Neo Kobe, what else do you have coming up, or do you have anything you'd like to plug?
I mean, again, I have the Neo Kobe Pizza podcast, the only gaming podcast that floats in soup. And we should have an episode coming up this Friday. I need to record some more at some point in the near future. But beyond that, I am going to try and put up more videos on my YouTube channel. You just go to YouTube and search for Mark B. Writing and find things there. I don't have any specific things that are planned at the moment, but I'm going to start trying to put up video content there. I've also been uploading lots of pictures from my visit to the Grounds for Sculpture on my Twitter. So, if you like pictures of artwork, there's plenty there to look at.
All right. And how about you, Gamer Keith?
Well, other than just playing Game of Thrones, I hopefully will get another episode out sometime this week. I'm hoping maybe either like Friday night or somewhere along those lines. I'm not 110% sure at the second, but I'm definitely going to get another episode in this week. Pretty much you could just follow my Twitter at the Gamer Keith, and that's pretty much where I'll be able to post that, and you guys can all see.
One day Keith and I will do that show we were talking about.
Eventually.
Okay. And as for me, of course, this Wednesday I have another episode of Game Jam coming up. I will continue my adventures with the horrendous Sega CD version of Willy Beamish. Yes, I like to punish myself. I would like to point out that
it's alright to like bad things.
Yeah, I played the game for an hour and 40 minutes last week. And then I decided, hey, let's play the PC version because I remember that being better for some reason. And yes, it was, because I can actually skip the dialogue. And it took me literally 25 minutes to get to the point where I was in the Sega CD version. The Sega CD version has ungodly amounts of fucking loading. Everything from the dialogue to loading the music to just loading another scene, loading the next scene. It's just so fucking redundant. But hey, it's the CD technology we have to exploit or whatever,
Full motion video.
Yeah. So
as
anyway,
opposed to full frame video.
And then on top of that, next this coming Thursday will be another episode of 3 Vets and a Noob, and more Phantasy Star Online Adventures. Apparently, we're getting some fans who actually enjoy us ragging on Rico, who is our noob in the group. So, enjoy. As for that, also this upcoming Monday, there will be no Free Step Dodge Dead or Alive bi-weekly. The original Phantasy Star Online Blueburst Excalibur. So that's pretty much it. So I don't have anything planned for next Monday. I'll probably just stream something randomly. So that's it for me. From all of us here at GVN Live, I want to wish everybody for tuning in and thank you all once. I just fumbled that ending real good. Hey, smooth. Okay, everybody, you have a good night.
Bye.